Hi everybody, 大家好. I welcome you to Jade Palace Yamingo. My name is Yaya. It is almost the year of the dragon, which means it's time for the first video of this year's Chinese New Year series. So, let's get started. Annual disclaimer, I will be talking about Chinese traditions and history, which is why I will be calling it Chinese New Year instead of Lunar New Year. This video will go over a wide range of dragons in Chinese culture, and I'm going to try to fit in as much as I can, but not everything. If I try to talk about everything, we will most likely be here for hours. So if anything catches your attention and would like for me to elaborate in a future video, leave a comment below. Dragons are called long in Chinese. This word gets misread as lung or lung a lot by Westerners. Chinese dragons also don't look like the dragons you may be familiar with. They don't have large leather wings or horns, nor do they breathe fire. Chinese dragons are more serpentine, and while depictions can vary based on different records, dynasty, and artists, their features tend to include long tendril-like chin whiskers. Instead of horns, they have antlers like deer, a camel-shaped head, rabbit eyes, ears of an ox, an agile snake neck, hard scales like a fish. Their abdomens are often in the shape of a cockleshell. Sometimes they would have tiger paws, other times sharp talons of an eagle. Definitely an interesting combination of animals, but together they make the mighty Chinese dragon. There's also a reason why the characteristics of these particular animals were chosen. Which brings us to the origin of Chinese dragons. While experts aren't really sure the origin of dragon lore in ancient China, but the dragon symbol itself evolved from the totems and emblems worshipped by the ancient Chinese tribes. Chinese dragons have always been associated with water, so there's a possibility that the original symbol came from either a fish, crocodile, or snake. And many legends, art, and archaeological finds support each theory, though the most supported theory is that of a fish, with the Dragon Gate myth being its biggest support. You guys should be familiar with the Dragon Gate myth, but if not, here's the general story. The Dragon Gate, or Long Men, talks about how a carp sees a mountain and is determined to reach the top. Against all odds, the carp swims against the current upstream and comes upon the Dragon Gate at the top. The carp leaps off the waterfall through the gate, and when he does, his fish body is transformed into one of a dragon. This is why the dragon scales are described as being the same as the carp's. Depictions of dragons found go as far back as the Neolithic period, from 62,000 to 29,000 BCE. Depictions include stone piles, earthenware clay pots, clamshell mosaics, and jade carvings. Most likely, the oldest dragon depictions found are from the Xinlonghua culture. They found a formation of rocks that seemed odd, as it wasn't formed naturally in this position. It wasn't until they followed the curve and looked at it aerially that they realized it was a dragon. In the Hongshan culture, archaeologists found jade carvings of C-shaped dragons. They nicknamed these pig dragons due to their pig-like heads. Imagery will continue down the future dynasties and generations until present day. How important are dragons to Chinese culture? We respect our dragons as gods, and that's how important they are to us. Dragons have always played a vital role in our culture, mythology, and history. We see depictions of dragons literally everywhere. Statues of them in temples and palaces. It's one of the animals of the zodiac. In feng shui. Everywhere. Ancient China was an agrarian culture. What's most important to an agrarian culture? Harvest. What do you need for a good harvest? Rain and water. Chinese dragons are celestial beings associated with water as opposed to Western dragons where they breathe fire. They live at the bottom of seas, lakes, rivers, or near any body of water. They summon clouds and bring rain in times of drought. We have many kinds of dragon gods. We have the Dragon King, Long Wang, who is sometimes seen as the collective personification of the dragon concepts in Chinese culture. But we also have the Dragon Kings, Sihai, Long Wang. They are believed to be the rulers of weather and water. Each Dragon King controls a sea around China, which includes the East Sea, now known as the Yellow Sea, the South Sea, now known as the South China Sea, the West Sea, known as Qinghai Lake, and the North Sea, which is Lake Baikal in Russia. In the past, sacrifices would be made to the Dragon Kings to appease them in order to stop flooding or droughts. Dragons symbolize many things. They are powerful, but benevolent. Dragons are great protectors of its people. Again, unlike Western dragons where they wreak devastation, Chinese dragons are kind to its people. They are also symbols of prosperity, wealth, and luck. Not only mythology and folklore, but we also see dragons mentioned in our history. There's one thing to note. In ancient Chinese culture, mythology and history are very intertwined. Even now, we still use legends as an extension of our history. In the Shanghai Jing, the Chinese bestiary, we have a description about Yin Long, the yellow dragon. He was said to have helped Huang Di, the yellow emperor, during the tribe wars, especially in the defeat of Zhiyou. Huang Di was also said to have been the grandson of a dragon. Yin Long also helped Yu the Great in controlling the great floods. It is because of Yin Long helping these two historical figures that we believe dragons to be protectors, whether it be from natural or man-made disasters. Yin D, the legendary Yin Emperor, was thought to have been born from a telepathic interaction between his mother and a mighty dragon. Both Huang Di and Yin Di were immortalized as dragons before they ascended to the heavens. It was during the Han Dynasty where the iconology of the dragon became more uniform. It was also during this dynasty where it was established as the symbol of imperial power. Emperors were identified as the reincarnation of dragons. Dragons are a symbol of power and divine authority, so it makes sense for the supreme ruler of China to be from the blood of dragons. This belief was established during the Han Dynasty because, according to legend, its founder, Liu Bang, was conceived when his mother encountered a dragon during a rainstorm. Also in Han myth, Liu Bang's ancestors included the Yellow Emperor, further cementing his right to rule. Emperors claiming to be dragons was basically a form of the mandate of heaven, so dragon iconologies were used everywhere, but only for the emperor. Even though citizens worshiped dragons, they weren't allowed to own any image of dragons. It was actually against the law. It was also important to differentiate between dragon hierarchy and depictions. This was done by depicting how many claws a dragon had. Only the emperor was allowed the imperial dragon, which had 5 claws. Nobles were allowed 4 claws or 3-claw dragons, depending on their status. They also weren't called dragons. However, after the 1970s, Chinese people calling ourselves the descendant of the dragon, 龙的传人, became popularized and became a representation of Chinese culture. Because of how important Huang Di and Yin D were in establishing Chinese civilization, we see them as the ancestors of Chinese people. They were the blood of dragons, and since we're their descendants, therefore we are also the descendant of the dragon. 龙的传人 is also a very popular song. It's one of my favorites, especially the modern covers, so go check them out. Wow, that was a lot of information, and I still haven't covered everything. There's still different kinds of dragons, colors, and even their offsprings. But this does show how big of a role Chinese dragons play in Chinese culture. Need a new fit for the new year? Check out my Teespring if you'd like to support the channel. I have a lot of super cute designs that I'm really proud of, which are perfect for the new year. So check it out if you can. Link is in the description below. So what do you guys think? What are dragon depictions in your culture? Leave a comment down below because I would like to know. You can also let me know what topics you'd like to see me cover in the future. If you enjoy this video, please give it a like and subscribe to Jade Palace Yamingong. I would very much appreciate it. This is the first video of this year's Chinese New Year series, so stay tuned for the others. 再见啦，新年快乐，拜拜。